This is the first thing I do when I'm setting up like a junk guitar that I'm building from scratch. I kind of get the two strings. These are just extra strings I had from the set. They're both obviously thin. They're not the right size. But what I do have one screw in the back. It's all filled in on the back of the neck, so I have to re-drill everything. So what I did was put just some cardboard on each side of the neck to kind of center it, like as shims. I have one screw, and then I have this C-clamp. This is from Harbor Freight. I have that C-clamp holding it in place, and then what that allows me to do is adjust the neck a little bit this way or that way, just to try to get the strings lined up. So I have a temporary, like a nut up there that's temporary. And for the tail, I move this back, the tail piece all the way back as far as it would go. It's routed out in there for the whammy bar. And I found a wrench that says Japan on it that I was going to use as a temporary bridge, but then I had to put this all the way back here just to get it to intonate. So right now I just have a bolt there, or a piece of all thread. So it's approximately in the right position. And it looks like the neck might be twisted. I'm not sure, just by eye. So if that's the case, I wouldn't mind just having this bolt here and painting this guitar up, using it as a slide guitar. My main thing, I want to hear what those pickups sound like. So I could get a new tailpiece, whatever, but if the neck is twisted, this kind of defeats the purpose. So I'll try to eye that up as best I can, and then see what I can do here to get this going. this will hang up here overnight, and then tomorrow morning I'll start wet sanding, and also anywhere where there were chips originally, I'll scrape that out with a knife. I was worried that all the cracks wouldn't show up as well with the paint, but everything looks good. So we've preserved the cracks, and then there's just color on this, no clear, because I wanted to have a vintage, old worn look, and possibly sand through the beige or the Santa Fe tan to show some of the sunburst underneath. That was the original plan, but I can always change that if I like the way it looks. I could change that and just leave it with the tan, but we'll see how it comes together. That's the way that's the way I would work naturally, is just see what happens. So I'll do since I've shown wet sanding so many times on videos, I'll just do that as a time lapse. But I will start with 800 grit and then go up. And if I do want to show some exposed sunburst, then I'll get close to the edges where normally you would kind of avoid the edges. So this guitar I bought for $30 off of someone I met on Facebook Marketplace. They hadn't had it listed, but I had had something similar that I was selling, and that's how they were kind of interested in that one, but it had already sold. So they had mentioned that they had this one that was a basket case, so I offered to buy it, and it took me a couple months actually to get around to getting it because of the just differences in schedules. So I pursued it and got it, and I got it back together. The main thing I'm discussing in this video is just like the paint. It had a really cool look to it, I thought, with the cracked paint, front and back, all the cracked paint. I thought it was a really cool look, but they all look like that. Not all the cracking, but they all have this sunburst. I mean, not everyone, but if you Google right now Teisco style guitar or 60s Japanese guitar, most likely you're going to see most of them look like that with the sunburst. So I wanted mine to be a bit different and just still retain the mojo of the cracks in the paint. And to that effect, I also did not clean, as you can see, the guitar headstock or the neck at all. It does need new tuners. These are really bad. They skip a lot. the neck has not been cleaned. I did clean and soak the pick guard in vinegar. I wanted to keep it old looking, but I wanted to get the flakiness off of it. It came out pretty good. The other thing I had to do was make a little tailpiece, little bridge here, and I did that with a bolt and a wrench. Like I had found a tiny little wrench that you would get with sets of wrenches, and it happened to fit across between the two posts, and then I tack welded a little bolt in there, and I had to move the bridge back about an inch or so because the body of this was for a 3/4 size guitar, I believe, and the neck is for a full size guitar. It was a different scale, so I had to measure and put it where it should be for this neck. Now it's pretty playable. It's okay. It's better than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like a slide guitar only, judging by the way that the neck was and how it's not the real neck. As you can see, it's not the correct neck for this. There's a huge gap there. And then I did put a new volume pot in there, and I mismatched the knobs on purpose. It was missing one, but I just figured it looked cool that way. The last one that I did, I used a bent butter knife for the tremolo arm, but this time I found a box of like screws and hardware in the trash someone set by their garbage can, and this little chrome-plated brass bar was in there, and I had a hole right here with a little brass rivet. I don't know what this is from, but I just took a punch and knocked out that rivet, and then I got this to work. Both pickups are working. They're very like microphonic, I guess you would say, because of all the metal, and you can tap on it and you hear the pick guard. The switches work, although they're a little kind of sloppy, like loose, but they do work. Everything is working. Other than that, I still have to clean up the back a little bit, but the back is the same deal. So the thing what I did with this, I just waxed this with alcohol, and then I spray painted it with 1 can of Duplicolor Santa Fe tan. Was it Santa Fe tan? Yeah, I think it was Santa Fe tan Duplicolor. It's lacquer. It dries like really quick, and I didn't use any primer soap because I wanted to go right to the Sunburst. So I did that, and then I wet sanded it, and I didn't quite like it. I wanted more distress, so I wet sanded it again with 400 grit, and then that's how I got this look, which I think is cool. It's got a nice classic look, but I know it's not everyone's thing, but I just wanted it to be different. I didn't want to have the same exact thing. And every time I get a guitar, I'm kind of like, even if I spend like $20 or $30 on it, I'm almost like, oh, this is too good to mess with. But then I'm like, I spent $20 or $30, I can do something. And this is reversible. You could wet sand all of this off if you wanted to, but I don't want to. So I never really got into these guitars before, but they're pretty cool, and it's definitely worth for the pickups, the $30 I spent. But it's also a pretty nice looking guitar. It's pretty light, and well, that's a pretty cool look. If it was a reverse, check that out. Like, imagine, if it was, I'm looking at it in the camera, but if it was like a reverse guitar, so like this would be, let's see, this would be like this. So yeah, it's pretty interesting looking guitar. Beat up like crazy, but it's working. After 15 years, 15 years ago, it was found in the trash by the guy that I bought it from. His son found it 15 years ago. So who knows how long before that it was, working. It was probably 10 years that it's probably not been played for like 30 years, I'm guessing, just by the way it looked. Anyway, Thanks for watching this. Any tips or information on this guitar that you can give me that I know there's not a lot of info out there, but I didn't really do any research on it. I just tried to get it back to playing.